Hello, Anna. How are you doing? Okay, now let's look at clauses. Clauses. What is a clause? A clause is a group of words that contains a subject and a verb. Now, to give a detailed explanation about that, I went on to say that a clause is a group of words, a group of related words that contains a subject and a predicate. Now, this part of the predicate is that's part of the sentence where you have a finite verb. And to describe a finite verb, we say a finite verb is a verb that agrees with each subject in person and number. That's a finite verb. So when you have a clause, you have the subject, the doer of the action, and then you have the predicate, which carries the subject, which carries the verb, the action that is being done, that agrees in person and in number with the subject. That shows, or that means, if the subject is singular, that means the verb in the predicate has to be singular. If the subject is plural, it means that the verb has to be plural. That's what it means. Now, there are two main types of clause. There are two types of clause. They include the main clause and the subordinate clause. The main clause, also known as independent clause, does one thing. It can stand on its own and make complete meaning. Okay? Whereas the subordinate clause cannot stand on its own. It needs the main clause to have complete thoughts. Now, it also forms part of the sentence. The subordinate clause or the dependent clause forms parts of the sentence. Now look at this example of a main clause. The choir came and ministered. The choir came and ministered. You see that you have the subject, the choir, came and ministered. That's the predicate, the verb. It is complete. All right. Now, if you look at this example of the subordinate clause, now that in blue, as soon as the boy saw the teacher, he took to his heels. Now I had to separate them. As soon as the boy saw the teacher, that is our subordinate clause, dependent clause. You see that it needs the main clause to complete its meaning, to have complete meaning of the action that has been taken on, that has been carried out. Now, he took to his heels. Now, you're having a discussion and you say, as soon as the boy saw the teacher, the next thing is what happened? What did he do? Okay, that's the next question that comes to mind. And so you see that the subordinate clause needs the main clause for complete meaning. You also have he will not travel unless he passes examination. Unless he passes his examination is the subordinate clause. Okay? And now you need the main clause, which is he will not travel, to complete the meaning of the subordinate clause. You have the last example there. If it rains, what would happen? We will move inside. You see that shows that I cannot stand on my own. That is the job of the subordinate clause. It depends on the main clause for complete sense, for complete meaning. Now, the subordinate clause we talk about has three types. It is subdivided into three types. These include the noun clause, or you call it the nominal clause. You have the adjectival clause and the adverbial clause. Now, the noun clause, just as the name implies, the noun clause acts like the noun. It functions like the noun. It behaves like the noun. Now, you would ask, what are the functions of a noun? These are the functions of a noun. You have the subject of the verb. The noun acts as the subject of the verb. It also functions as the object of the verb. It functions as a complement of the verb. And it functions as the object of preposition. There is another one, I didn't add it Okay, that's going to be your assignment. You're going to look out for the fifth function of the noun. Okay, so now let's go into them fully. Subject of the verb. The noun clause acting as the subject of the verb. Remember, the subject is the doer of the action. The subject is the person or the thing that the action is that carries out the action. Now I had to separate the noun clauses and I had to make them be in colors so that we can identify them easily. When we talk about the subject, the noun clause as a subject of the verb, it shows that the noun comes before the verb. As long as the noun comes before the verb, we say that the noun clause functions as the subject of the verb. Now look at this example. What she said surprised me. That's a sentence. What she said surprised me. What she said is a noun clause, okay? And it functions as a subject of the verb surprised. That's the verb there. Surprised is that's what the noun clause functions as, the subject of the verb surprise. Then you have that you are hungry is obvious. That you are hungry is the noun clause, subject of the verb is. He said that he was there. Okay, now omit the C. This is for object of the verb. Sorry. Let's go to the third one. That he speaks flawless English does not mean he is educated. That he speaks flawless English does not mean he is educated. That he speaks flawless English is the noun clause, subject of the verb does not. Okay, because here you have the verb in the contraction form, does not. That is the subject of the verb does not. That's that about subject of the verb. Now let's go to the next one, which is the object of the verb. Now, when we talk about the noun clause being the object of the verb, here we are saying that the noun clause comes after the verb. Remember, the object is the receiver of the action, whereas the subject is the doer of the action. So when the noun clause comes after the verb, it shows that that is the object of the verb, the receiver of the action. Now let's look at these examples. I like what you do. What you do there is the object of the verb like. You see that it is coming after the verb. She dislikes where her parents live. Where her parents live is a noun clause coming after the verb dislikes. He promised to do whatever his father says. Whatever his father says is the noun clause and it is object of the verb to do. Okay? Subject of the verb, object of the verb to do because that is an infinitive, to infinitive. Then we prefer what we agreed on initially. What we agreed on initially is a noun clause and it functions as a object of the verb prefer. Now this example, he said that he was there. That he was there is a subject of the verb. So sorry. So you're going to take this example to the object of the verb. That was my omission, my mistake. Now the next one is complement of the subject. Complement of the subject. When we talk about the noun functioning as a complement of the subject, we are referring to the noun clause complementing the subject. Okay, and it always goes after a link. It comes after a linking verb, or you call it a copular verb, a linking verb. So this is what I said here. Now the noun clause serves as a complement of the subject when it comes after a copular verb. When it comes after a linking verb, it simply shows that the complement refers to the subject. So whatever is being said in the noun clause is completing the subject. Now look at this example. We are what our thinking makes us. Okay, are there is a linking verb. We is a subject. Okay, so you have we are What our thinking makes us. What our thinking makes us is complement of the subject we. It is completing we. It is telling us about the subject. His whereabouts remains a mystery that baffles everyone. His whereabouts remains a mystery that baffles everyone. That baffles everyone is our now clause, and it's complementing the word subject his whereabouts. Okay? It's telling us more. What is surprising us is his whereabouts. So it's complementing the subject. The girl became the girl became what her parents never believed. The girl became what her parents never believed. What her parents never believed is a now clause complementing the subject, the girl. Okay? So you have, he is a genius we have always known him to be. He is the genius, yeah, we have always known him to be. So that's phrase, that clause. Now, if you notice, there is no word. Like if you look at this example, now look at this example, you have what introducing the clause, that introducing the clause. Here we don't have any. Now this shows that sometimes our now clauses can appear without the subordinating conjunctions, without those items, those words that introduces them. So when you have he is a genius, we can say he is a genius that we have always known him to be. It's correct. He is a genius we have always known him to be. Is also correct. So we have always known him to be is complementing he, which is the subject. Now we go to complement of the object, completing the object, complementing the object. All right. Now here I said the now clause serves as a complement of the object when it follows the direct object and refers to the same entity as that object. It follows the direct object and still refers to it as the object. Now let's look at these examples. She can present the thesis that she had completed. What is the object there? The thesis. So the now clause is completing that object. She can present the thesis that she had completed. So if you look at it very well, that she had completed it's completing that object, the thesis. Okay, so you have the teacher gave the instruction that we must not come late. What instruction did the teacher give to the students? That we must not come late. You see that the now clause is complementing the object, which is the instruction. The boy inherited the goods which his father left behind. Have you asked the question, which goods did the boy inherited which his father left behind? You see that you have the subject, you have the verb in the main, in the main, in the independent, in the independent part of the sentence, and then the subordinate part which his father left behind, complementing the goods, which is the object. And finally, you have the chef ate the chicken which he roasted. The chef ate the chicken which he roasted is our now clause complementing the object, which is the chicken. So you can go through that again. Complement of the object, complementing the direct object. It is the object it is following directly. All right. Then you have the prepositional complement, or we say the object of a preposition. Okay, so when we talk about the object of a preposition, it shows that the now clause is is following the preposition. Now look at these examples. The players deliberated on who should lead the team. On who should lead the team. You have who should lead the team is a now phrase, is a now clause, and it is object to the preposition on. Look at it again. The players deliberated on who should lead the team. Now, who should lead the team is a now clause. You see that it is following the words, the preposition. That makes it the object of the preposition. You have children sometimes quarrel about what is flimsy and unnecessary. About what is flimsy and unnecessary. You see that the now phrase, what is flimsy and unnecessary, is following about. That shows it is object to the preposition. The student agreed on the best route to follow to school. The best route to follow to school is the now clause following the words preposition on, okay, being object to the preposition. And then you have the last sentence there. A desperate staff signed for a loan he might not be able to repay in a year. Okay, so you see a loan he might not be able to repay in a year, following for, which is being object to the preposition. Now take notes. Number 3 and number 4 examples, we're not having the item, the words that introduces a now clause. That shows that sometimes these now clauses would appear outside, we appear without the words that introduces them. And when that happens, you're going to look out for the function of the now in that sentence to find out which is what it represents, if it's the subject or the object or the complement of the verb, either subject or object, or the object of a preposition. So if that is taken, I want you to look at the examples that I gave. You would understand that these words, the words that introduces the now clause appear in different forms. Okay, so the now clause appears in different forms. I'm not going to say it to you. Now that's going to be your assignment. You're going to make a research. Now you're going to find out the forms of now clause. Okay, that you're writing a sentence, or you read a sentence in a comprehension passage, and then a particular part of the sentence is removed and shown to you to say, identify the now clause in the sentence. Okay, so what shows you that this is a now clause? This is how a now clause appears in a sentence. It is there in the examples. So look out for them and then write them out for me. They're about 5, but I want you to give me 4 of it. And each of the forms, you're going to write 5 examples for each of them. Okay, now let me just give you an expo. A now clause appears using the WH words. The WH words. For instance, what she said surprised me. Now, what she said surprised me is not an interrogative sentence. That is a now clause, because the now clause takes that WH words, okay, to show itself, for you to be able to identify it in a sentence. Remember, in types of sentences, WH words are interrogative words. Why are you here? What did you do? Where did you go? But when it comes to the now clause, WH words introduces the now clause. Okay, so now that's an example. I've given you one example. So find out the remaining and give me 5 examples, 5 sentences for each of them. Okay, then we go into this one. You're going to identify the now clauses in the sentences and state their functions. Okay, identify the now clauses in the sentences and then you state their functions. Remember, when it comes to the now clause, we are looking at subject of the verb, object of the verb, complement of the verb. Now, complement of the verb could be complement of the subject or complement of the object, and then the object of a preposition. So you're going to tell me each of the functions as you go through them. So those are your examples. I'll be expecting them. Meanwhile, I would prepare for the next one, which is adjectival clause and adverbial clause, the other types of subordinate clause. All right, thank you very much, and go through this over and over again. Have a wonderful weekend.